Matt, welcome aboard. We're glad to have you here.
Thanks. It's great to be here. I'm really just so humbled to be included in this lineup. Adam Kokesh gave the epic poem, and then
Yeah.
somebody followed up to say it's like going on after the guitar after Jimi Hendrix, and then of course Tatiana actually brings out her guitar. So forget it. I'm done. I'm out.
No, no.
Well, no, we're bringing you in. You are fully welcome here. We're glad to have you. So, and where are you tonight, by the way?
I'm at home here in Bedford, New Hampshire. It's a suburb of Manchester. New Hampshire, of course, is the live free or die state. And I'm the president of the Free State Project. Earlier, you heard from Carla, who was the president for a long time until earlier this year. And I've taken up the reins from her and tried to fill her very large shoes. So I mean, I guess let me just maybe jump in with a little bit of background.
I want to tell an anecdote about you first.
Oh, yeah, sure, go ahead. I know what you're going to say.
And also, Matt, along with Carla and PorcFest and Free State Project, have been so supportive, always, consistently. The first time I met Matt was my first time at PorcFest, and that's when he wore a cowboy hat and had long hair. And anyway, he heard that. Well, for me, I was short on money as usual. And I was bunking with 3 other people that were young enough to be my grandkids, I think. But anyway, that was fine. But he said, no. You need your own room. And he sprung for a room for me. I mean, it was so nice and so generous. And I just always remembered that. And so I just wanted to say, you've really been great in a lot of ways. And your mother is a lovely woman.
Well, and that's what I was going to say is that when I first met Lynn, I had known about the case, and Silk Road for a while, but meeting Lynn, it really reminded me of my mother, and my heart really went out to her, because I know that if I had happened to me what is happening to Ross right now, that my mom would just be devastated, and that was something that was really interesting. I think that you and I got to do at PorcFest this year was we got to sit down and talk a little bit about you. There's so much focus on Ross and all the intricacies of the case and the technicalities of Bitcoin and all of that. And I really wanted to find out, how are you holding up? How do you get up in the morning? How do you stay motivated? I know that this is super depressing for a lot of us, that this is even happening, that we have to fight against this. And it just must be so hard for you. And to hear you talk about how, what your day is like. And most importantly, I think, the community, right? Of like, every time you need something, you just put it out there and somebody jumps in and says, hey, yeah, I know this guy, let me introduce you to this journalist. Let me find somebody who's an expert on that, legal issue, whatever. And you just put it out there and somebody shows up and makes a connection.
It's been amazing. It's been great.
And that to me, is a huge thing that we have. All of us have this sort of big, enormous virtual community that we can rely on, that we didn't have, 10, 50, 200 years ago. And the same technology that Ross was using to try and innovate and to make life safer for so many people is the same technology that we're using today to connect to each other and to help fight this system. And I think that I try to have like an optimistic view about, where this is all going, and in the face of this tragedy and this travesty of justice. So that was really a great thing, I think, that we got to do. And I want to share that message with everybody. And of course, you've now been to PorcFest, everyone, since that first one.
Absolutely.
And also you've been coming to Liberty Forum. We have Liberty Forum coming up here again in February that you're going to be at, right?
Yeah, I think,
and,
yeah.
And
they're both great events and important events.
Yeah, and that's what we're doing up here, is we're trying to build our own little community up here of activists who can support each other. And I think that we have a lot to learn from you as an activist, and also Ross as an activist. I think that he, he's one of the reasons why I get up in the morning and keep fighting and do what I do, because he set this example that we didn't even know about at the time that he was doing it. We just knew there was this thing that was happening, and then now he's fairly or unfairly stuck in this position. Well, definitely unfairly stuck in this position. So hopefully we can show people here in New Hampshire how a more free society can also be more peaceful and prosperous, and then other states can start to look at that and point and say, hey, look, they're doing it there. And eventually we'll get to the point where people realize that Ross's situation is not okay.
I hope so. And it's not just because of him, there's larger implications. I mean, do you have any thoughts on that, of the larger implications in his case?
Well, sure. I mean, and I was thinking earlier, I was listening to some of the things other people were saying, there's a lot of focus on Bitcoin, but then there's a lot of non-Bitcoin blockchain technology that's happening out there. We've got, some of the Open Bazaar guys are up here, and they're trying to innovate and try to get around this problem. There's another company up here called LBRY Library, and they're not using Bitcoin at all. They're using their own separate blockchain to tackle a completely different problem around content and how do you publish content in a decentralized way. So the implications are not just, hey, can I buy something online with Bitcoin, drugs or otherwise? It's, there's these technologies that are just unfathomable to us, that we just didn't know even were a possibility a few short years ago. And the government trying to regulate them, they're just bound to fail. And this case is sort of the prime example of that. It's like, you can't imagine, you can't predict, and you shouldn't even try. Let the free market kind of figure out what's going on and how to best use these new technologies to help people in the same way that Silk Road was. I mean, Silk Road was helping people. Mm-hmm. So the implications are to me, are very clear on that front, on the technology front. And of course, as you just pointed out a few moments ago, it doesn't matter whether he did order people, want people to be killed. Whether if we had a videotape of him doing it and admitting to it, all some terrible, terrible crime, or I don't know, jaywalking. It doesn't matter. Like, the whole point is justice should be, we have these rules, we have these protocols, they should be followed regardless of what you think the crime is or how bad the person is. We follow those rules. That's just like what we do. It's what makes sense. And so the fact that there's been this obvious miscarriage of justice, regardless of what you think of what the outcome of the case should be, if you think he's guilty and should rot in prison forever, this case does not bolster your argument for that. If you want to have that, great. Have a real case where there's all the evidence is presented and we get to hear both sides. That didn't happen.
Yes.
That's not okay.
Yes, very much so, Matt. You make it so succinct. You say it very clearly. And we thank you for expressing that and support that you and the Free State Project have given to Ross Ulbricht. We greatly appreciate that. Someone might say, hey, I want to find out more about this Free State Project, having a free state in our lifetime. What a concept, and how to get in touch with you, Matt. What's the best way for them to do that?
Well, they can definitely check out our website at freestateproject.org, or they could also check out the website for Liberty Forum, which is coming up here in a couple of months, at nhlibertyforum.com. Headliner there is going to be Rick Falkving, who's the founder of the Pirate Party over in Europe.
Wonderful guy, making some real positive progress there in Sweden and elsewhere.
And elsewhere, and what while we're on the topic of pirates, we got the Dread Pirate Roberts, and now we got the founder of the Pirate Party. So you can check that out. And of course, we've also got PorkFest coming up the third week of June.
And don't forget, in Iceland now, the Pirate Party actually now has a commanding lead in there. So it is happening. We are seeing a change in our world today.
Yep, definitely.
That's all right, Matt. Thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it and wish you all the very best.
Oh, it was definitely my pleasure. Thank you for having me, Terry.